Welcome to That SUNNA Feeling, the podcast where beauty meets ambition, hosted by Brandi and Shannelle, the founders of SUNNA.
Here we peel back the layers of the beauty industry, offering insider tips, business strategies, and personal stories that inspire and educate you on the path to success in your spray tanning, teeth whitening, and beauty business.
Whether you're dreaming of launching your own venture, looking to expand your revenue streams, or simply curious about what goes into our products, we're here to guide you each step of the way.
From the fundamentals of picking your very first spray tan machine to building an empire from the ground up.
That SUNNA Feeling is your go-to source for business motivation and knowledge.
Welcome to the SUNNA Podcast, episode number 1. And we are excited to dive in onto this podcast. It's a long time coming. We are looking forward to sharing all the SUNNA goodness. I know there's a ton of people that have been waiting for this. And we thought the perfect place to start with episode 1 is to start at the beginning and start with the why SUNNA, how it came to be. Our company is how many years now, Shannelle? Over 10, 12?
12, yeah. That seems so crazy. Yeah, going through this timeline and making these notes was so hard. So much has happened. How much do you share? How much detail? You don't want to make people fall asleep.
And one thing you're going to get to learn about Shannelle and I is that Shannelle is very quick to explain concepts, and I like to dive a little bit deeper and pull out the juicy nuggets and the details. So, and one thing I will say is that it is always difficult for an entrepreneur to look back because we're always looking forward. So this was a good exercise. It's always good to look back, see where you came from, but you also tend to forget a lot of things too. So we would love for you guys, when you are listening to this podcast, definitely reach out to us and let us know if you have more questions, if we didn't, answer your questions, if we didn't go deep enough into our stories, you have more questions, definitely ask them. And then we will, in a future episode, answer those. So I'm Brandi. This is Shannelle. And we are the founders of SUNNA, and let's start at the beginning. And Shannelle, it all starts with you. And so I really want you to take a step right back to the beginning. And every single business starts with a moment of realization, a problem that needs to be solved. And that is where SUNNA started. So start from the beginning, Shan.
So I grew up with very little attention to skin safety. So I'm the oldest of 4 kids. I got the fair skin, the blue eyes. And I think my mom did her best to put sunscreen on me, but I can't even count the amount of times I was sunburnt. And, as I grew up and I became a teenager, I don't think I really cared. Like, my sunburn turned into a tan. I started to do the tanning bed thing. Same thing. Didn't care if I got burned in those tanning beds too. Same thing. It would turn into a tan eventually. And it really wasn't until both my parents had some pretty scary skin cancer scares after going to the dermatologist that I realized I need to start paying attention to my skin and caring more, because obviously it's genetic, both sides. So I started to get spray tans, and what would happen is I would look good for a couple days, and then I would get a massive skin hangover. So I struggle with eczema, extremely sensitive skin. Everything makes me break out. I have to watch everything I put on my face, makeup, face products. And I just thought to myself, this is so sad. I will never be tanned again. How am I going to fix this problem? That was really my aha moment. Like, I never wanted to be in the beauty industry. I went to school for graphic design, marketing. My dream was never to be in this industry, but I saw this gap, and I knew there were probably more people like me who wanted to look naturally tanned, like I was laying in the sun, without the skin hangover, and obviously without doing it harmfully to my skin.
So what did you do with that? So I mean, you were quite young, early 20s, and you were dabbling in lots of different things, and then you were like, "Well, I'm gonna, you know, I have to find a product that works for my skin."
So I ended up finding a chemist, super hippie chemist in Colorado, and she had a more natural spray tan solution. And I, started to do family and friends and using this solution, and my business quickly, caught rapid fire because my website that I had made really, really quick, like one evening with a glass of wine, looked very legit because of my background and my way of, making things look that way when that's what you do for a living. Um, People really thought I was, a legit business. And not that it wasn't a legit business. I just, it was something I was just doing on the side. So what started to happen was people started to approach me and they wanted to also have a business. And at the time, my business was called Organic Tan. So I had to figure out very quickly how I could train people on something that I just learned how to do myself a month ago. And ordering these products from the US and customs and all of that, and how's I even gonna make money reselling it to them? And yeah, so that was how Sunna rapidly grew. I had to figure that out in only a few short months. And in a matter of, you know, a couple years, I think I sold 50 franchises. We did something called franchises then. So you were able to use my name. I would help you with your website, like just every business cards, everything you needed um to start your business.
Yeah. And that's when Chanel met me. Yeah. So
Mhm.
I
I don't know what number you were.
I was early. I was early on. I was early.
No, that would have been in 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what number you would have been, but I remember driving to Lethbridge, but you can tell I know you have your own story, but I remember driving to Lethbridge, training you, and little did I know today you'd be my ride or die, my business partner, my work wife, all the things. But yeah, why don't you share a little bit about what you were doing at that time and what made you want to start Tan Naked Bodies?
How I started, for sure. So, I mean, as you guys can tell, Chanel's really that true visionary and entrepreneur spirit and just go-getter from a young age. She really glosses over this the franchise piece and building 50 franchises in a couple of years, people reaching out to her from across the country. That's a huge accomplishment. So what ended up happening for me is and if you've ever kind of heard my story, very, very different background. I had two small kids at the time, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And I was working at the bank as a small business banker and, did the usual go to school, uh, go to university, leave university, get married, have kids, checked all the boxes, which I know a lot of our clients can relate to this. Growing up as the good girl, people pleasing, doing everything for everybody else. And, hitting 29 years old and going, this is it. So I say I had a midlife crisis, which I did. Obviously, had a ton of, the banking industry just wasn't for me. Started on a journey of self discovery. And that's when the universe opens up, when you really start looking inwards and focusing in on yourself. And that's when opportunities come into your life. And, similar to Chanel, grew up, in the pool and early on in my 20s, when sun safety and skin safety started to become much more of a thing in the news and everywhere, I was like, oh, geez, I really have to start being careful. So I started to go and get spray tans, and I'd go and get a booth spray tan or try some sunless tanners. And all of my girlfriends at that time would make fun of me and say, you know, like, there I am on the beach with my SPF 60 on, covered up, but I have my spray tan on and I'm happy, right? So this was something that I kind of adopted early on in my 20s. Definitely, had a lot of sun younger and being fair, I was like, okay, I need to take this seriously. So one of my good friends was up in Calgary and got a tan by Shannelle, and they get chatting. And this the best part about this story is this is the day before cell phones where you'd bring them on vacation with you. So she gets this tan from Chanel. Apparently, they get talking about the business opportunity and that I should set it up in my city. And they were talking about me. Of course, she was saying, that I know the perfect person that would be amazing at this. And she literally texts me and says, I just got the spray tan, Chanel, Calgary, organic tan, business name. You should do this. So I hit up Google and I find Chanel's website, I find Organic Tan. And yeah, I think that's the funny thing. Again, she glosses over that, but just looking legit. And that's a really important evolution and the story and the history of Sunna is just our online presence has been something that we've always excelled at. Well, Chanel has always excelled at, and that I've easily adopted into. Also, like absolutely love pretty and beautiful things and really appreciate the entire every detail and thought that goes into um the minute that somebody lands on your website. And so right away I contacted Chanel and literally was in 2 weeks. um I started up my spray tanning business. And at the same time I was still working at the bank, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do this on the side. And I'd always wanted to start my own business, and I didn't know what it was. I mean, I took business in school. I have a marketing degree, but it was just one of those things that there wasn't the right time, opportunity, all the stuff, and everything just aligned. I mean, the fact that I could, use some creativity, build a business. I mean, I really didn't know what that meant at that time. Um, but I knew that I was a hard worker, and I knew I needed to change. And the biggest piece is that I, with a goal of quitting my job, spending more time with my kids, having more flexibility in my schedule, more time freedom, more control. And, very quickly I started up my business, and it, it, it took off, and I quit my job. I think it was 3 months later. So everything happened very, very fast. And then, yeah, and then I guess it was, it's funny because when we look back at the timelines of these things, I feel like that first 2 years, because I joined Sunna as a partner and more on the corporate side of Sunna in 2015. So it was only 2 years.
Yeah. Where that 2 years felt like
A
a long
long
time.
time. I think that was when we were just like building and grinding. And I mean, so tell us a little bit more about your business. Like, no,
Well, I
yeah.
feel like I feel like our timelines are similar in the way that we both started to work on the business that was Sunna, that was growing, the product line, marketing, all of that. Um, but we also had kind of realized like we were tapping out of doing spray tans. Like we were both at full capacity. I was working from home. I had a home studio and I was doing mobile. I had girls doing mobile for me. I know you had girls doing mobile for you. And then it was like, okay, if we want to really scale these businesses, we need studios. So, I mean, you and I both had studios around the same time, and we both exited our studios around the same time. I had mine for 5 years. I don't know how many years you had yours for. Um,
I 4 years. 4 years.
4 years. So similar, super similar timelines. And that was a lot. Like studio, scaling Senna, but what was so cool, and I know you and I both agree on this, is like coolest thing and the biggest lesson of us owning studios is why we're able to help so many other people grow their business quickly and understand, because we're not just two people out of nowhere that started a brand. Like we have been the salon owners, the janitors, the like trying to realize figure out how we're, even after a busy month, how we're going to pay everyone, what our costs are, equipment maintenance. Like, we've lived all of that. So every time, we get on a phone call or we make a training, or, we're in the DMs with somebody brand new, we just have so much more to share and relate to.
Yeah, that's always that always what's made Sunna different is it's really from the ground up. And the company has been built based on our experiences, every single one of them. And the feedback and what we've received back, it's not just, somebody sitting in an office dreaming up something. We've created every single product and like Shannelle says, training based on what we're seeing is missing and what people are needing. Um, yeah, I mean, we've been the ones doing the, 40 plus tens a day. Like we know what that feels like and what to think about and what to look out for and how to avoid burnout.
And that's gonna be a whole episode. Like, so many of these things we're talking about, we're gonna dive into these topics just on quick episodes. But yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the timeline. So yeah, 2019, late 2019, we both sold our businesses. We both couldn't do it all, like kids running a full service studio, plus trying to scale and grow Sunna. Both sold around the same time. Then the pandemic hit. Um, and like everyone, full scramble mode. Full freaking scramble mode. I became the warehouse. We got rid of all of our staff. At the time, we had warehouse staff and, we had employees and got rid of everyone. And I became chief officer of the warehouse. And you, in a matter of 2 weeks, put all of our courses that were built to be done in person. That is something that, we really loved about our business. And you somehow in 2 weeks put those courses online. I don't know how you did it. You did it in your closet.
I did.
You,
I did it in my
yep,
closet.
yep, did it in your closet. I remember hiding from, your kids, your family, and we got it done. And really, was it done well? No. Did it matter? No. And at that time too, we hired a few coaches to help us learn more about ads and having an online course and how to scale that. And boy, did we scale. Like in a matter of a few months, our business doubled. So, you know, was it crazy? Yeah, but it really set the tone for what Sunna is today. And what have we gotten there? Probably that fast? No.
Yeah, no, exactly, right, it pushed us. We had one of 2 options, we had the option to just fold and crumble and die, or we had the option to innovate and just continue to move on and do what we could. And so that's what we chose and that's what we do and that's what we've always done. When we feel like our backs are against the wall, like let's figure out a solution. We're master problem solvers and that's what we did. Yeah, it was a crazy time. I mean, obviously what was really cool is Shannelle and I both, obviously Shannelle has technically trained in graphic design and web development. And then myself, which is really funny to say because I'm kind of on that's my role inside Sunna, just on the technical side of things, not on the design. But that's really, we saw an opportunity. We knew we had the skills and just even the foundation to really, hone in on e-commerce and really put everything online. And we had that desire, we had the motivation because we had to, and then we had people to help us get there. And yeah, we've got our, like we say, we had our doctorate or what do you
Oh yeah, we
ours?
we got our doctorate in e-commerce pretty quick. We've made so many mistakes. We've had so many coaches, so much education, so many failed agencies, great agencies. Like we've just learned so much in a matter of only a couple years. What was also cool that was what was happening in that kind of 2020, 2021, a lot of our top stores stayed open because they were selling online. These stores had never sold online. So they were putting Sunna retail products on their online store and they were paying their rent, even paying themselves with that money. And that showed them like, wow, I want to do that too. And that is when later in 2021, we launched our private label. So that gave everyone the opportunity to create their own brand, put their own logo on something, whether it was custom or it was our private label, whatever it was, they built the hard part was over. They built the clientele. Now they got to put their name on something, which is something also that I'm super proud of. And I know you are too, is just not having a ceiling for anyone that comes in our Sunna fam. Like whatever you want to do, build a brand, you know, build a tanning empire, create a course, train people, whatever. We just want to be in your driver's seat, helping you get there. And that's one thing with Sunna that I'm just so proud of us for keeping that going and giving women the opportunity to scale as big as they want,
Yeah,
but
and
still getting to be
it always has been, and I think that that's the biggest piece of this first podcast is just that why Sunna, how Sunna started, and just knowing that how it started is how it's going to continue. It's really all about, and it always has been. And it's, not only on the product side where it's this concept of skin first, and gorgeous tan second on the SunnaTan side, but even as we develop new lines, which we didn't talk about SunnaSmile, which we should get into.
oh yeah.
And that's another story. But that is the concept behind it. It's both the product and then different types of revenue streams and opportunities that we'll definitely get into in another episode. But yeah, tell us a little bit about SunnaSmile and how SunnaSmile started.
So a few years after SunnaTan, I had all these stores, and stores started to call me, and because spray tanning has slower times, slower seasons, and they said, what other service would you add? Like, what else could I do as an upsell? And I was racking my brain thinking of all the different things that Sunna could do, and teeth whitening kept coming to my mind: tan skin, white teeth. But like all my teeth whitening experiences have been crappy, like super sensitive teeth. I didn't want to get into like bringing in a product that people were complaining about and it just ruins your reputation. Then I was introduced to a company out of Ontario, female owned, that had a all natural, sensitivity free teeth whitening, and we partnered with them and created SunnaSmile. And that was because the brand was built. We had people already using our products, already had clientele. When SunnaSmile launched, it was just like off to the races right away. It was the easiest launch anybody could ever dream of. And I know you have a crazy SunnaSmile story that we will get into on a different episode. But that's how SunnaSmile was born.
That is the Coles note um, of our story. I mean, we've had tons of ups, tons of downs, and we're still here, and we're growing. We're continuing to grow. We've the future for Sunna is super bright. We have, partnered with a manufacturer to bring you all kinds of new things that are coming. And we've got this podcast where we can't wait to share the news when something new is coming. So definitely check in every week. And again, share with us podcast topics and ideas. Ask us any questions. And episode 1, I think that's a wrap
Done.
in the books. Okay,
Thank you for listening.
we'll see you next time.